A few years ago, I was on a dating website where I matched with a police officer. I thought his dog was cute and figured this was my opportunity to finally pet a canine dog. I was quickly disinterested after listening to him complain about his recent divorce. Now, I don't recall much details, but I remember it was very apparent he was the problematic person in that relationship. I was also really grossed out by how he fetishized me for my big sloppers, tattoos, and colorful hair. I was very upfront with him and told him I wasn't interested and that he was setting off some red flags for me. He begged me to give him another chance, but I said no and blocked his number. A few days later, I get a knock on my door around midnight. My heart dropped to my stomach. It startled me so much. I looked out of my peephole and see a stranger holding food. It's an Uber Eats delivery driver. I tell him through the door that I didn't order food, but he said someone else ordered it, and he knew my name. I asked who ordered it, and he said a name that I didn't recognize. I tell him that I didn't want the food, and gave him directions to the dumpster to throw the food out, because at this point I have no idea if he was actually from Uber. Later on, I'm going through my dating app matches and realize that it was the cop's name. I go through my blocked messages, and this guy had texted me a lot. The last text was, "I hope you like your dinner." I decided it's best that I unblock this man so I can keep an eye on what he's saying in case I needed to be worried about my safety, or if I'm going to need to go buy some bear mayonnaise to drop a cop. A few weeks later, I'm at my work, and I get a call from a number I don't recognize. I answer it because I assume it's a new client. The voice on the other line says, "Hey Rachel, I'm at the Starbucks across the street. What's your drink order?" I ask, "Who is this? I don't have you on my appointment book," assuming it's a regular customer, and I made a rescheduling error. He says his name, and again, my heart drops. How does he know where I work? I ask him how does he know where I live and work, and he explains that he did a reverse image search on photos from my dating profile, found my social media and my Yelp page for my salon, then looked up my address from there. I tell him I'm calling his station and reporting him for stalking, and that if he ever comes to me near me, I will consider it as a threat and will be ready to physically defend myself. After all that, he begs me to give him another chance. I hung up, called the police station he works for, and they won't even let me email photoshots of my creepy texts. I could tell nothing would be done. The lady literally said, "Oh, I'm sorry, he's going through a lot right now." Literally treated like if he's the victim. He mostly left me alone after, but I was so scared living alone for the first time in my life. I have a semi-popular meme page on Instagram with about 80,000 followers. I shifted through and found like 5 of his accounts. I blocked them and moved on. This was several years ago, but all these memories came flooding back when I noticed a familiar profile photo on my account who commented on a post. I must have had missed an account of his when blocking. I had posted a photo of me holding 2 big tunas I caught on fishing, and he commented, "God, I wish I was one of those fish. I would love to know what it's like to be held by you." I met a guy on Tinder, and we really hit it off. We've been chatting for a few weeks, and even discovered we had a few mutual friends. I was pretty intoxicated one night, was feeling social, and decided to call an Uber at his place. Once I got there, we talked outside for a while and ended up vibing even better in person. I opened up to him about my health problems, and he opened up to me about his older sister who had passed away from a similar condition to mine's. I was curious about his sister, but I definitely didn't want to pay much attention to it. We walked into his house, and it smelled like 1,000 dead rats were rotting under the floorboard. I was already still pretty drunk, so I tried to forgive it because, hey, sometimes animals die under a house or in the walls, and there's nothing you can really do about it. I start to look around, and the whole house looked like a cluttered storage unit. He takes me to his room, which is seemingly normal. Kind of feminine, but it's cool. And we hook up. I ended up falling asleep there and woke up at around 10 a.m. to the stench of death. I opened my eyes, feeling very sober, and started to look around the room. I noticed that only girls' clothing were hung in his closet. I then see a giant black bender in his nightstand. When he woke up, I decided to jokingly ask him, "What's that giant bender?" Turns out, it was every single episode of Golden Girls printed out. He said that he read it at work, and it's the only show he'll ever watch. Okay, I asked him what he did for work, and he dodged the question. I sat up and looked at the pillow I found cozily sleeping on. It had no pillowcase. It was covered with what looked like to be old blood. It looked like blood that had been coughed into. I started putting the unpleasant pieces together. I asked as sensitive as I could, "Hey, was this your sister's room? I noticed the clothes in the closet." He says, "Yeah, this was her bedroom. I haven't changed or washed anything. It just makes me feel better to be in her bed. This is actually where I held her when she died, and you remind me so much of her. I really, really like you." And he just casually tried to hook up with me, like he just didn't drop unsettling fucked up news. I felt immensely sorry for him, but needed to get out of there. I made some excuse and left. I decided not entirely to ghost him because of how bad I felt for him. He was clearly dealing with some really dark shit. We kept in contact for a few weeks until I went to my Find My Friends app and noticed he had clearly taken my phone while I was asleep that night and shared my location with himself. I called him and went off. This was not the first redo with the stalker type, and I was not dealing with it. He told me he couldn't believe I thought I could have done that, and I'm being a really terrible person dumping him because his cat had recently died. I blocked him. After he said that about his cat, combined with his tendencies to hold into things, it really makes me wonder what that smell actually was. Let's hope not, and I really hope he gets the help he needs. So this just happened today, against my better judgment at the beginning of the month. I got a Tinder. I matched with a few guys, etc. One of them is James. We ended up texting each other, and he seemed pretty chill and pretty into me. He's a decent looking guy, and we seemed to click. He had apparently been in a relatively abusive relationship with a woman, and he was looking to start over. According to him, she had hit him with a frying pan and pepper sprayed him once. He kept on going on how crazy she was. Alright, it happens. We went out to the movies this past Friday and I had a great time. We ended up talking for a few hours and we hit it off pretty well. I asked about the ex because I was a bit curious as to why he stayed with someone like that. He didn't say anything positive about her, just that she was crazy, had mental illness, and didn't take her meds. That kind of stuff. She had tried to baby trap him once, but she had a miscarriage, and he expressed relief that she didn't end up with a child. He said that he had felt obligated to her. Again, I get that. All in all, I had a great time. This morning rolls around, and he tells me that he hooked up with his ex last night, and that he was going to try to work things out with her. Mildly insulting that I lost out to an abusive chick, but whatever. I tell him it's cool. He then a few hours later texted me to say that she was crazy and he thought she was changing, but she wasn't. He kept asking if he could see me. He was being very pushy about it, wanting to see me today. He begged me for like 5 minutes for my time so he can explain to me, and I politely told him that I didn't want to be involved with someone who was already clearly hung up with his ex. This is where it got nuts. He admitted that he was still with her, but he wanted to see me today so I could meet her and she could determine if I was better for him than she was, and that she wanted him to be happy because he and I had a connection. I flipped after that, told him that the fact that he needed his ex to determine who was right for him was absolutely disgusting and nuts, and that is not what true love is, and that I wanted no part of it. His ex started texting me after that, and it was non-stop insults and incoherent shit that made no sense. She also dropped the bomb that she was his wife. I told her to fuck off basically, and blocked the number. I went on Tinder to message him, where I call him a piece of shit, and if he was intelligent enough, he should have left her and never messaged me again. He started to harass me, saying that I was miserable because they have a beautiful love together and all this crazy crap. He then went on to say, "My wife knows where you work. I hope she doesn't do anything rash." And I told him that if that was a threat, I would gladly go to the police. He then said that she's been in jail before, and she's not afraid, and that she loves him so much that she'll fuck anyone up and risk going to jail for him. That she'll kill my friends if they try to protect me. That she's armed and dangerous. I told him goodbye, reported him, and deleted my Tinder account. I did went to the police tonight, but since it wasn't a direct threat, they couldn't do much. The cops think that James was more or less full of shit and just trying to scare me, since some people love getting off on that shit. He said that I did the right thing by blocking him and reporting him, and I should just keep my eyes open and alert at the people in my job. The scary thing is that James seemed perfectly normal, but he lied about being married, how he felt towards his wife, and he flipped like a switch. His excuse for not being upfront about being married was that they were going to get a divorce. He seemed so docile and unassuming, and the hatred and aggressive attitude was insane. I have to honestly wonder what would have happened if I had gone to talk for 5 minutes. I'm kinda concerned since they do know where I work, but if either of them ever try anything, then the cops can actually nail them.